Good evening. Welcome. This time I'm going to ask Chris Newkirk to come up and give our invocation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for this afternoon and this opportunity to do good things in the community that we live and work in, Lord. And we thank you for this group of people who's gathered here today just to discuss the business at hand. And I just ask that your presence be in this room now, that you allow us to hear each other's opinions, Lord, and just have a productive conversation that in the end just brings honor and glory to you. And Lord, as we look ahead at the days to come with all the things that are happening in our local communities and in the world around us, just remind us that you're a God of creation and that nothing is beyond your reach, to include the circumstances that we're in, Lord. And I just ask that you remind us of that you have that presence in our heart, that you give us the peace and the comfort of knowing that you never forsake us, Lord, and that you use all things to your good will. And we pray for these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Chris. At this time, I'll call our monthly meeting to order, and I'll ask that you stand as we have the pledge. Then it'll be led by Commissioner Rebholz.
Please face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll ask that you check your smartphone, cell phone, flip phone, whichever one you have. Make sure it's silenced or it's turned completely off. This time, I'll ask if any of the commissioners has a conflict of interest with any agenda item. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. And I'll entertain a motion to, okay, we got a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, you have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, raise your right hand. Thank you. Okay, we're down for items for presentation. Our first one is our Employee Service Awards. Dolores.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I believe we have 4 employees that are going to be here tonight to accept their awards. Christopher Birdsong, with 5 years of service with tax administration. He must not be here. We have Robin Hamilton with 10 years of service with the Department of Social Services. Next, we have Jason Hill with 10 years of service with the Sheriff's Office. And we have Eric Jennings with 20 years of service with our Water Department. And we have a lot of others that we'd like to acknowledge that could not be here tonight. Michael Orman with 5 years of service with the jail. Alexis Washington with 5 years of service with Human Resources. Deborah Johnson with 15 years of service with the Department of Social Services. Ashley Howard with 15 years with the Department of Social Services. Stephen Davis with 15 years with the Water Department. Matthew Hager with 20 years with the Health Department. Nathaniel Woolard with 5 years with Soil and Water. And Patty Williams with 5 years of service with social services. And then lastly, Tammy Pugh with 25 years of service with social services. So let's give them a big hand.
Thank you, Dolores. The next item for presentation is Child Support Awareness Month proclamation. Tammy?
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing us to be here. I want to speak a little bit, and I'm going to let Tina Jordan read the proclamation. Tina oversees our office here in Beaufort County. I just wanted to mention that Child Support Awareness Month calls attention to the achievements of the child support program and its employees and acknowledges the hardworking parents who spend time with their children and who make regular child support payments to safeguard their children's future. We're very grateful in child support to be allowed to be here and what we do. Growing up with a single parent, I understand the struggles that can take place. And so I just wanted to thank you all for allowing us to be here each month. August means a lot to us. One of my favorite quotes is, "Children are the world's most valuable resource and its best hope for the future." Thank you.
Thank you.
Whereas Beaufort County is recognizing August as Child Support Awareness Month and reaffirms its commitment to strengthening Beaufort County's families by providing child support services to improve the economic stability and well-being of children, and whereas the state fiscal year 2023-24, more than $3.7 million in child support was collected from parents of Beaufort County children, and whereas there are nearly 2,311 child support orders in place working to ensure that children receive financial support from their parents. And whereas the court must order either parent to obtain and maintain medical health insurance coverage for a child, it is actually and currently available to the parent at a reasonable cost. Whereas Child Support Awareness Month salutes diligent working parents who spend time with their children and who make regular child support payments to safeguard their futures. And whereas strengthening individuals and families promotes the safety and well-being of children, provides stability, improves the lives of children, and provides opportunities for families to be able to enhance their children's future. And whereas children who do not receive adequate financial and emotional support from their parents may experience greater difficulty in becoming healthy, happy, and productive citizens. And whereas many concerned and dedicated judges, district attorneys, clerks of court, sheriff's personnel, and child support professionals work to establish and enforce child support orders for Beaufort County children, one of our county's most vital resources. Now, therefore, we, the Beaufort County Board of Commissioners, do proclaim August 2024 as Child Support Awareness Month in Beaufort County and commend its observance to all citizens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the proclamation. We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor, raise your right hand.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to say one thing on behalf of these people. If you need to obtain support for your child, you do not necessarily have to hire a lawyer unless you have a special case. You can go directly to Child Support Services. And as they said, those fees are going to be a whole lot less, if any at all, than what you would pay a lawyer. So don't go to the lawyer first and then say I should have been over at Child Support Services, because you're going to wind up in a different part of the court over here, and things are going to move very, very, very slow. If you go to Child Support Services, these people are aggressive. They have a staff. The county contracts with a company to do this, and that's who these people are. And as the so-called deadbeat dad czar in Beaufort County, I haven't had a complaint about services in that department in at least 5 years. So they're doing a great job. The statistics come out every month on what they do and the money they collect, and they're very organized, very professional. So if you think that you need child support services, go see them. And you can call social services. They will direct you of how to contact these people.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is the Washington Senior Center discussion, and I think it's going to be led by Commissioner Ribbles and Gail Breed.
Well, it was 2 months ago that we started hearing about the fees that were going to be imposed by the city on non-residents, non-Washington City residents that were using the senior center. I don't know about you, but I probably got more phone calls or requests or comments on this than anything else. And then the city sort of vacillated on this, but Gail came to me and contacted me and said, we need to sort of work on how we can solve this, and can we have a dialogue with the commissioners? And I said, well, the way you do that is get on the agenda and you talk with us and tell us what you're thinking, and we'll ask you questions, and we'll see if there's a way to come to some common ground. Now, I know also that you're talking to the city tonight also.
Yes.
About this, and this is not what you're going to think it is up front, okay? This is not us asking for us to pay the fees of $170 a year. So with that, Gail is looking for solutions to help the population of the county.
So I have a presentation, and I'll hand off the actual slides after I'm done. Good evening. As John said, my name is Gail Breed, and I wanted to review those recent events regarding the fee schedule imposed on county residents. And in order to better understand the adults who are involved, let's take a look at some of the current demographics. This is, the data source is census.gov, so it's reliable data. And what I've highlighted here is the senior citizens in Washington as well as Beaufort County, because these are the adults that are coming to the center. So you can see there the percentages we have in both the city and Beaufort County that live alone. Some actually are receiving food stamps, and these are the percentages of the people that are below the poverty line. And as you're well aware, and so is the city council members, that it's important to the seniors. This is a place where they feel they have improved quality of life through their interaction with others. There's a fellowship and that feeling of belonging. There's health and well-being through the exercises that are there, the pool tables that are there, the library that's there. And mostly also important is to maintain that unique character based on the history of the Washington, North Carolina families. So let's also take a look at the background of the fee schedule. So what was posted here, effective July 1st, was taxpayer funded. The center itself has been taxpayer funded, and I'm sure you guys are all aware of that. So when this fee schedule, this poster was posted, it was the only means of communication with the people using the center. So it was a very unpleasant surprise. And the initial thought was the city was looking for a way to repurpose the center. Everybody was asking, is this a museum fight all over again? So the fees imposed seem to be excessive and actually prohibitive when you think about the people who are actually attending. So how did the seniors react? Well, 50% of them walked right out the door and said, this is not affordable. We had groups begin to think about how they were going to relocate, the grandparents raising grandkids, the line dancing, the quilters group, which was created in 1981. So the senior citizens, some of us got together, we attended the July City Council meeting and expressed our disagreement with even asking for any fees. So here's a few examples of what they said. A married couple who volunteers at the center did not think they should pay $350 a year to volunteer at the center. Others indicated charging the fees would mean losing the status of the Center of Excellence. So a small number of seniors decided to take a look at the potential funds, and I'm one of those folks. So we looked at what actually would be the potential revenue generated by these fees. Remember, 1,300 of the county members, half of them did walk out the door, but these county members would then be paying $175. So the yearly total would be $227,500, or over the course of 5 years, $1.1 million. And, okay, so what happened when 50% of those walked out? It made the yearly total potential revenue of $113,750, or a 5-year total of almost $600,000. Okay, we looked at these and we thought, well, we've got to consider our senior demographics. Remember, we said 37% of the seniors in the city and 38% of the county seniors are living alone. So that's why we selected that per person fee to estimate these numbers for you. So then we said, well, let's really take a look at their budget and see what they really have for their senior program P&R, and this represents the exact department number on their budget. So the total budget they have for the senior center is $299,480. We said a good relationship is 80% for employees and benefits and 20% for an operational budget. So obviously we're using the facility. It stands to reason that we would want to participate and help in the operational budget. And they were asking, or inside their budget, which was approved, was $59,896. So you can see it's a whole lot less than what the potential funds would be from generating on the fees that they were asking and put on the poster. Let's take a look at what happens when we look at the city and how it might satisfy actual operational budget needs. So we know that the operational budget is $59,896. We assume that our county taxpayers provided $20,000 and our state taxpayers provided $30,000. So the gap is really just close to $10,000. So if the city had actually wanted to ask seniors to pay fees, this is more what it would look like, especially when you consider the demographics again. Who's below the poverty level? 22% of city and 18% of Beaufort County taxpayers. So if we took the $59,896 and we said, okay, we're going to say, hey, all 1,300 county members are going to come back, the annual fee would be $46.07, and the monthly fee for a county member would be $3.84. And then if we only said, oh, well, we can only get 650 of those county members back, that the fee jumps to $92.15 and $7.68. But remember, the seniors don't want to pay any fees. So the seniors are in agreement. They want to keep to the tradition of funding the taxpayer monies. And we recognize the county commissioners as good stewards of the county taxpayer funds. So we're asking for an additional $10,000 to $11,000 of county taxpayer funds to close this gap. But that's not all we have to ask about with you. We also have another idea for operational expenses for the 25-26 budget. We're hoping that after our folks meet with the city council, they will make an announcement, no more fee schedules. That they will work through the media, they will have an article in their own newsletter for the senior center, and that they will have the center staff contact those people who left to encourage them to come back because there would be no more fees. What we would like to do as a small group of seniors is work with members of the city council, members of the commissioners, and figure out how to do an annual tax exempt campaign. If you're going to ask us for money, why not make it tax exempt? And then we would work it in so that by this budget cycle of 25-26, the program would be up and running. Any funds that would be collected, again, would be focused on operational needs and could be also redirected to any other senior approved style projects. So thank you for your attention to my presentation. Do you have any questions?
Jerry? I have two.
All right.
So you're asking that, you're pretty much asking to have nonprofit status if you talk about being tax exempt.
It already is. The senior center is already tax exempt. On the back of their monthly newsletter, they have a program, and I have participated in this, where they have you do a tax exempt amount of $100 and you're considered in the gold status. And then they have other statuses if you give a tax exempt donation for 50 or 25, you know.
So you just want to run a campaign?
We want to run a campaign.
Okay.
And we want to, the first meeting we want to have is to talk about what that straw man campaign would look like. And we want to make sure we find seniors who have the skill sets to help do that campaign. So it's not like all of a sudden we go, oh, geez, we need, $50,000 to run this campaign. No. We have some bright people who have skill sets associated with knowing how to put together things like that. And we want to work with you all so that you're also being able to promote it. Yay, city and county working together to support their seniors.
And my last question is, if I heard you correctly, you were saying for the 25-26 year budget, so you're already conceding that it won't happen this year, but you want it for
The funding I'm asking for, the 10 or 11,000, we want for the budget. Yeah, currently. So we can tell, so the city council stops asking us for fees. They've already approved their budget for almost $300,000 for the senior center. And they have comments from their finance person in the opening letter of their budget that indicates everything's covered. So we were really confused by the fact they were even asking for more funds. But we don't want fees, and so we're coming to try and be a mediator between the city and the county.
Well, yeah, and let me say this, and the other commissioners can correct me if I'm wrong. We were never asked for any money for the senior trips.
Okay. So
in our budget process.
So $20,000 from this group never really happened?
No, it did.
Yes.
It did,
Yes.
okay. So they didn't come and talk to you, but you went ahead and gave them the 20, and we recognize that. And we recognize you as good stewards of our taxpayer.
So that's what I'm saying, above and beyond, no.
So you remember the slide where we show this? So the city operational budget, just the operational side, we're not talking about paying for their employees, is $60,000. We know that $20,000 was given of
From the
county taxpayer
Right.
money, and that the state also gave $30,000. And that's why the gap that we're trying to close, to eliminate the need for any kind of fees, or to argue the need to get rid of those, is just $10,000, $11,000.
So what I'm saying is, outside of the 20, nobody came and presented to us.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
What you're saying.
Yeah, so I'm here.
But you're here after the fact.
Well, I have never been involved in your budget process. I was not aware that there was a problem with closing the gap. I wasn't aware, no one was aware of why this list of fees suddenly appeared, except for we all thought, they're after our senior center, They're going to try and push us out because they know we can't afford $175. And what are we doing? We're volunteering. You want us to pay to volunteer? I mean, it turned into a big commotion. So now we've calmed down and we're looking for just a small amount, 10 to 11,000, and we're quite sure that our taxpayer money can be available to them in that amount and stop this whole thing. And then going forward, we'll have an annual tax exempt campaign that will bring more money into the center. So potentially less money needing to be coming out of our tax base.
Randy?
Yes, is it true that when they start charging for a fee, they lose their funding, the federal or state funding?
Yes, they have a category called Center of Excellence, and they'll lose that funding.
What assurances do we have that the city will not, if we were to come forth with this money, what assurances that we have that the city's going to stop having a fee?
Well, that's why we have representatives over there tonight. We stopped them in July and we stopped them for August. And so we're hoping that if you all cooperatively can talk with them and let them know that what you're willing to do here, that fee process will go away. And if you're willing to support the tax exempt.
Has any city official admitted to the desire to make that a museum?
They did. They actually had a contract out, a request for information a year ago and they had laid out almost things that they wanted to do with the second half of the building. And, we just took a deep dive into that, what they had written, and the 2 responses that came back. And then the building itself can't support what's needed for historical items. I mean, it just can't as is. So they were looking for bids for how to change and upgrade the center. And then they stopped that. And then they actually have a budget this year of almost $300,000 that they've approved. We got into this somehow or another. We've come to this place where they're asking for fees, and it's,
Does the city have another building that the senior center can be located in?
They're not interested in doing that. They made that clear when we were all up in arms. They said, we're not trying to take away the senior center. We're not trying to move it anywhere. That was part of the original jargon last year when they were saying, well, if we use this as a museum, we'll get you guys a nice fancy, kind of thing. And we're going, no, we really love our meeting place. This is...
Well, during our budget process, I asked why we were only giving 20 when last year they asked 25, and the answer was that's what they asked for. So it's confusing. We get confusing different things from the city.
I can tell you a whole bunch of confusing things, but I'm not gonna. Yeah. I don't want to breed contempt between or create finger-pointing opportunities. Really, I just want 10 or 11,000, and then let's see if we can get them on board, and then let's start doing this tax-exempt program.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Stan?
I don't know if this is a question or more than a comment. County commissioners and the city of Washington never really worked well together for a variety of reasons. It's usually on their end. Well, I would like to say exclusively on their end, but I'm trying to be kind.
Nobody's going to believe that, Mr. Guthrie.
I don't know. I know one guy at the end of the table would believe that. But the city of Washington's hard to work with because they have a convoluted way of doing business, a convoluted way of governing. I always have, ever since I can remember moving back here in 1984. I distrust the city, and a lot of people do. That we distrust the way they do business. We distrust whether they're an admirable government. Some people think they're corrupt. And a lot of things they do well-meaning publicly, just come out wrong, come out bad.
Well, I think this is really an opportunity to change that. It's an
How do you do that
opportunity
without
for great
changing the people they
success.
have in their leadership? That's the problem.
Well, we're being mediators to that relationship
You know,
because we have a vested interest. I mean, a lot of folks are on fixed incomes. We know with the way
I
that
know.
the
That's it.
food costs are, gasoline, everything else, discretionary income is greatly reduced, if any exists, for most of the seniors who attend from the county. And so we're looking for a small success and then build a bigger project. And in doing that, we'll build some of these relationships. You know, you might be surprised. I
know that's easier said than done.
But I'm not naive because I did the budget numbers, I looked at it. We have the available funds in the county.
Oh, we have the available funds to a lot of
So-
things in the county. The thing is,
And
if
we
we do
know that-
everything, eventually we're not going to have any available funds.
And we know that we are asking specifically for operational, these funds to go for operational, not for anything else.
See, the problem is how would the county be able to administer what we do with the city? Now, I come out each year, and I'm against all charities because we're really not supposed to be giving away county-funded monies to charities. What we say by charities, that's another way of expressing outside agencies that we have no control over. Now, the way we've been told, at least I've been told by the School of Government, in order to do this properly, we need to have an agreement. We need to have a contract, and that contract needs to be examined. We don't do that here at the county level. We just give the money to them, and they administer it, and if everything goes well, that's fine. If it doesn't go well, we're off the hook because we just gave the money and we ran. I've been told let me finish. I've been told at the state level that it's a conflict of interest for us to give away that money to non-governmental agencies that are not associated with Beaufort County. And the City of Washington, God bless them, they're a corporate municipality. They are not associated with us in any way, shape, or form. We're set
Your
up by...
taxpayers are associated with both you and the
Our
city.
taxpayers are.
And in this case, we are not a charity. The senior center is not a charity, and I appreciate your comments about that, but that's not our focus for here and now.
Well, that charity is a broad word used for discussing what an outside agency is. And the City of Washington is an outside agency to us, or should be to us here. We're really not connected. There's no connective governmental tissue whatsoever. They're a corporate municipality. We're a body politic of the state of North Carolina. It's a totally different setup.
Well, again, you're going down a rabbit hole that I
It gets deep, doesn't it?
have no real knowledge or experience with, but I have to bring us back to this point that we're merely asking for $11,000 that, as taxpayers, we feel is available. We would like it used specifically for operational funds to close this gap, and then work with us on creating a tax-exempt program that will feed the operational needs of the senior center going forward. I mean, we're talking about, not needing taxpayer funds. If we do a really good annual by annual tax-exempt campaign, we should be able to raise more than this.
And that would be wonderful. And what we're
So give
ending
us
up
an
with...
opportunity,
Well-
give us an opportunity.
Okay, we're getting.
sorry.
Well, let me say one thing.
We're going to move.
Let me say one thing in closing. I think your number one issue is going to be dealing with them and they coming to deal with us. I think that's the only way this is going to work.
Of course.
And it's nice that you're working this and you're trying to become that buffer, that connective tissue between the two groups. But if they're going to consider us a granting authority, which we would be, as a body politic state of North Carolina, and they're a corporate municipality, they have to come to us and request it. And then we're going to have to set up a group of parameters for us to have them work within. And then we work with them. That's the only way I can see doing it.
Okay, Gail, did you have a question?
I just have one thing. I have a problem with the city with a business plan where if they start charging fees, they start losing grants. I have a problem with that. There's something obviously wrong.
Yeah, and that was a great concern of the seniors as well. We're like, why are they taking this money off the table? I mean, by doing this. So there's lots of questions to be asked. That's why we wanted to have a couple city council representatives, a couple from the commissioners, and some seniors to sit down and kind of start to hash out some things.
Did you?
So I guess the question is right now, what action would you like this board to take?
Oh, I would be delighted to walk away from here saying, knowing that you all had approved $10,000 or $11,000 towards closing the gap on the operational funds for the senior center.
Okay, did you want us to get together with the city and the constituents to sit down and talk about this first?
If that's what you think is the best way to proceed, then I'm all for that, so that we can get rid of the fees. They have, like I said, they stopped the fee requests for July, they stopped them for August. So if we can get our act together in the next couple of weeks and get an agreement and moving forward on who would like to participate in the tax exempt campaign, that would be great.
So what do you think the chances are the city will buy into this?
What do I think?
Yeah.
Well, we told them.
They're talking about...
We did not tell them the amount, and we have, is any of the representatives here from, did you guys get a feel, Chris, you were one of our spokespersons there, did you get a feel that they were interested in?
I felt that they were listening to us, and they were more responsive this month than they were last month. And, we laid out a plan that we would like them to postpone the fees and come up with a strong budget plan. Don't just throw this at the seniors at the last minute and expect them to buy into it. This really, a lot of the county people feel like they're not welcome at the senior center anymore because of these fees. I mean, it really does affect the county residents. And if there's no senior center for them to go to, I mean, that's going to affect them in so many ways. And then you're going to see the costs being spread out in the community.
Chris, let me pinpoint, did you get a feeling they were interested in having a conversation with the county to figure out?
Excuse me.
They did not respond back to us. They let us make our case.
Oh, and that was
but
it.
we
Okay, well, let's request a meeting.
I
Yeah,
think that's the best option, Gail, is for
Okay.
us to talk to them and see if we give another $10,000, what happens. Remember, we gave them $20,000, and that's the equivalent of $16.51 for the 1,200 county residents, based on the budget information they gave us. And the budget information they gave us is not matching up with some of the numbers that you got up there. So anyway, let us take that step.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I want you to go back and look at the tape of our last meeting at the 8-minute mark on the tape. There was a motion here 3 times to give the city $10,000, and it failed. Now, some of these commissioners want to swim without getting wet. It don't happen. If it comes this time, I'm not going to give them a lifeline. I'm not going to vote to give $10,000 to the city. I put it out there 3 times, and it was down 3 times.
Specific to
For
the,
the splash pad.
No, it wasn't. The splash pad started off with $20,000. We found out that wasn't going to happen, so we did not earmark. Did we earmark the $10,000? It was not earmarked. So now I'm not going to give you a lifeline.
Okay, here again, let us have some conversation and see if we can come up with an agreement, if we give them additional money, that they take it completely off the table.
okay, all right, I appreciate that. And I'll leave these here, and all the budget information is from the official budget that's in the library, Brown Library, so I didn't make anything up. I only have, I think 5 copies.
Katie will she'll get copies to everybody.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to working with you.
next presentation is the opioid settlement strategy update. Where is? She's here. Daphne. Good evening.
I think we can work.
That's just like the same deal with the athletics. They want to leave and go to the senior center. They would do these things. What if you go to the senior center on 7th Street? I know. Well, I mean, I didn't know they may have a source. Some sort of grant.
Don't worry about it, Tiffany, you've memorized all of it.
I hope so. All right, good evening again.
Good evening.
My name is Tiffany Moore. On behalf of the Behavioral Health Task Force, I'm here to give you an update regarding opioid settlement funds. I am more than delighted to say that since the implementation of the opioid settlement, the Behavioral Health Task Force has had a lot more successes than we have challenges, but we want to present all the information to you all. So just to highlight some of the successes that we've had the ability to reach into more of our underserved populations. Specifically, we've been able to reach more people on the south side of the river. We've also been able to reach our Hispanic populations and just a lot of people who feel like they were not a part of the process. We've also continued to build on to our collaboration. We've built a league of partnerships with community organizations and members. We have been successful in the implementation of the prevention piece that we promised to you. We did that by adding one health education specialist to the community. We've been able to expand the capacity in the community for smaller organizations through the use of the community pilot projects, as well as work on the intervention piece by adding 2 peer support specialists to the community as well. I will state that one of our biggest challenges in the implementation of this strategy, of this strategic plan, was the high turnover rate among peer support specialists. And we kind of understood that was a part of the process, but that has been our biggest challenge thus far. So one of the first strategies that the collaboration decided on and you all approved was to continue to support the efforts of the Behavioral Health Task Force. So just to give you some updates regarding that, we have been able to successfully receive sponsorships for our community and action events. Again, understanding that there are barriers to care in the county, these events still go around to the county. We've been receiving funding from Trillium, ECU Health Beaufort Hospital, and other partnerships through a grant process. We've typically averaged about 150 to 200 participants for our community and action events. This year so far, we've had 2 events, one in Aurora, one in Washington. I am delighted to say that both of those surpassed those numbers. They were well above 200 participants at those events. And as well as we've had a lot of more collaborative partners to join our efforts. We've also been able to bring training around stigma reduction to the county through the UNC STAR program with the UNC School of Medicine. So we had that at Beaufort County Community College about 2 weeks ago. We have continued to receive funding to support our podcast, Riverfront Talks, Substance Matters. We have published 12 episodes of that thus far, and again, ECU Health Foundation has provided us additional funding to continue to utilize those resources to the community.
We've added a few focus areas, again, behavioral health task force, we focus on mental illness, substance use disorder, and anything related to behavioral health. So we've also incorporated homelessness, which we know is a big problem in Beaufort County as well, but also a topic that has recently come before us has been suicide prevention efforts. And again, just to elaborate on the partnerships that we've built, we have a lot of new people at the table who are interested in the efforts that we're doing with outreach. So the second strategy that was implemented is the peer support specialist. From September of 2023 to April of 2024, we had one peer support specialist that was housed at Clearpoint. During that time, this peer worked with 37 different peers, is what we call them. 14 of those male, 23 were female. And just some of the services that they were able to provide to these individuals was medication-assisted treatment services. We know that MAT, as we call it, is an evidence-based strategy that works to help wean people off of substances as well as mitigate the circumstances behind the withdrawal symptoms that they face while they're going through treatment. They've also, through Medicaid expansion, been able to get many individuals enrolled with health insurance. Again, another problem that people who have substance use disorder faces is the ability to enter detox to get treatment through providers without health insurance. So a lot of those health insurance programs were able to cover the expenses related to treatment. One proud moment that I had with one of the peer support specialists, there was an individual who was in a crisis mode. The peer support, again, we try to make sure that they don't cross the line to clinicians, but they were able to de-escalate the situation until the mobile crisis team was able to arrive on the spot. They stayed with them, and afterwards they were able to transport them to ECU Health Medical Center, where they were able to continue to receive services, as well as look at options towards treatment. Thinking about our criminal justice involved individuals, those who are recently released from incarceration, they have a lot of obstacles that they face. One is having legal identification and a social security number so that they can work and things like that. So we want to make sure that they're able to be productive members of society after their release. So getting that identification is essential. Also, they were able to connect many individuals to the Oxford House, which specifically focuses on sheltering unsheltered individuals who suffer with substance use disorders. And again, employment is just another aspect of it that they're able to receive once they gain their legal identifications. So beginning in April, our peer support specialists began being housed at Passages Counseling Service. We have 2 peer support specialists who are currently housed there. Thus far, from April until now, they have been able to work with 12 females and 7 males. And this, I want to kind of stop and note that one of the other challenges that we face with our peer support specialists is the lack of female peers. The need for female services are very great in this area, but the availability of female peer support specialists is lagging. We have some who are certified. It's just a little bit easier to get male peers hired and sustain employment. So that is an area that we are still looking into getting a little bit better services for our females, because some of them actually have trauma and are hesitant to work with male peers, and we have been notified of that from several of the participants. Again, connections to care they provide, there will be some overlap between here and Clearpoint. Stable housing, we know that homelessness is a problem. Stable housing, dealing with the social determinants of health, trying to help them overcome barriers is important. Again, connecting them to vital community resources, transportation to and from treatment, as well as, again, acquiring health insurance coverage. And some of the things that they do is they work with individuals who are in the detox facilities. They facilitate groups when they're there. They teach them essential coping skills, hoping that these will counter their tendency to relapse once they're released on their own. Some of the collaborative partners that these peer supports have worked with is Recovery Court, TASK, our North Carolina Treatment Accountability for Safer Communities organization. They also work with probation and parole, again working with both the male and female shelters in the county. They've worked with Open Door Women's Shelter and Zion Shelter and Kitchen. Port Human Services is our primary provider for detox services. And they also work with Celebrate Recovery, providing continued support once these individuals exit detox. The third strategy that we've implemented is our opioid use prevention education specialist. We call her our opioid educator. Since she has taken this position, she has been able to work with 664 unique youth, a total of 8 different organizations, some of the partners that she collaborates with. She's been in all of Beaufort County high schools. She's been working with the juvenile justice system as well as the teen court and Daughters of Worth. She's worked with both clubs, the Washington and Belhaven Boys and Girls Club. And she also works with Beaufort County Community College adult learners and early college. And one thing that we've noted from our school administrators is the age of onset for our youth is getting younger and younger and younger. So we also felt the need to move into our elementary and middle schools. So recently, towards the end of the year, she started working with Northeast Elementary as well as P.S. Jones Middle School, and also was invited to work with a private school, Pongo Christian Academy. And just some takeaways and metrics from the work that she has done with these youth. The youth have reported an increased knowledge about positive ways to deal with stress, the harmful effects of substance use, and increased understanding of terminology related to substance use. A lot of times we talk at our children, we assume they understand, we throw out these terms and they don't. That is one of the big takeaways from that. She's utilizing an evidence-based curriculum called Catch My Breath to supplement her teen talks that she was previously doing. The Catch My Breath curriculum covers everything from vaping to opioids to fentanyl. She's been able to reach different demographics across diverse settings. Again, she's working with our juvenile justice system as well as our teen courts and our community college, and that was not even intended when we thought up the position. But they have reached out to her for support. Again, some more takeaways and some metrics. 40% of the students have a better understanding of the dangers of fentanyl after completing teen talks. I'll elaborate on that a little bit further with the success stories. 60% of students feel that they can confidently say no to substance use. Again, we don't want them to ever get started. If we can keep that from happening, then we don't have to have as many interventions geared towards helping people recover. 91% of the students report that they are better aware of associated risks with using substances. The Boys and Girls Club of Belhaven, their metrics are they've seen a 25.6% increase in participation over the recent years. Specifically a 20% increase in enrollment in the Smart Moves program, and that program is actually geared towards prevention of substance use, alcohol, risky behaviors, early sexual activity with our youth. 30 preteens and teens participated in the Smart Moves programs. They reported an increased knowledge from the Smart Moves program about substance misuse and the refusal of drugs. 48 members participated in community service projects. Again, when kids are not left to their own ambitions and they are actually being supervised and have positive role models around them, they can be productive members of society, so we certainly encourage that. 95% of members said they understood options and consequences when making decisions about their health, to include the effects of substance use on their lives. 85% of members think how the decisions they make today could affect them in the future, again, pushing that effort to be productive members of society. And 92% of members indicate they know which places online or in person that provide truthful information. That is very important. Again, social media, television if they watch it, has a big impact on what our kids do and how they think about things, and we wanted to make sure that some of the falsehoods that are being projected through those avenues are actually being discredited. The last strategy that we have here is focused on an additional community pilot project. Thus far this year, Daughters of Worth has worked with 12 survivors of human trafficking. All of those survivors had opioid use disorder. Some of the services they provided are connections to detox, outpatient and inpatient treatment services, as well as connections to medication and assisted treatment services. Challenges for our clients, and they want to make sure that we understand exactly what this process is like. Housing has been a barrier, transportation, employment, and child care availability for those victims is also a challenge. They wanted to specifically let you know that limited access to safe homes that provide MAT services is a big deal for them trying to place these individuals. Safe homes designed for victims of trafficking typically do not allow MAT services. As well as, finding them a safe location to where they can be away from their traffickers. Some of the outcomes from those 12 women, 4 of those survivors began detox and treatment services but chose to discontinue those. But they do stay in communication with the case managers. 3 of the clients are currently receiving medication-assisted treatment services and outpatient care. They are seeking long-term placement for these ladies, and then 4 clients are currently at a detox facility and receiving inpatient treatment services and hopefully long-term care. And 1 client has been relocated out of state due to the severity of the issues with that case. Just to continue with the efforts of Daughters of Worth, they have started working with our youth as well. They are now working within 4 schools in the county that during 23-24 school year, and they were providing trafficking prevention assessment sessions. Some common threads they wanted to note about the populations that they're working with. Addiction, girls are introduced to substances by their traffickers. Victims are already using substances that we consider low grade in this field of service. Marijuana, Xanax, or Percocet, they are actually being introduced to harder substances from their traffickers as a way to coerce them into sexual acts and to continue that physiological dependence that will cause them to want to continue to do those services as long as they can get a fix. Youth trafficking, other youth, I've attended conferences, I have did different training sessions, and this was first presented to me by Daughters of Worth. I have heard this across the board, that youth are beginning to traffic other youth. And they are the reason that some of their friends are engaging in substance use. And then again, with our juveniles, some of them are involved in the criminal justice system as well. And there is a correlation between the gang activity, substance use disorder, and trafficking. And just some of the collaborative partners in which they've worked with, of course, Beaufort County Schools, Ruth's House, Walter B. Jones, Beaufort County Health Department, and Juvenile Justice. And just to give you a few success stories from these different strategies, we'll start out with the community pilots. So one of the classes, and these are in their language, this is why it's being read this way. One of the classes I taught was at the Boys and Girls Club. This session was geared toward vaping. During this session, I also mentioned to the students how fentanyl has been found in vapes and that it is what makes vaping so dangerous. I informed them that if they were to use a vape from someone else, they won't necessarily know what's in those vapes. This conversation led to the students asking more about fentanyl. They informed me that they did not know how dangerous it was until now. They also did not know that it could be found in other substances as well. One student told me after learning this that they are now discouraged from using substances. A second success story here with our peer support specialist. And this was reported in January, and we continue to get updates from our peers regularly, but I thought this one was pretty good. A peer reached out to the peer support specialist seeking assistance with finding treatment for alcohol and substance misuse. He stated that he had been abusing substances for many months and was ready to make changes but did not have any insurance. The peer support specialist was able to explain to the peer that the peer now qualifies under Medicaid expansion for coverage and directed the peer to apply for Medicaid online. A few weeks later, when the peer support specialist followed up with the peer, he applied and was qualified and covered. The peer support specialist was able to connect the peer with Port Health Services, and the peer is currently working with them to receive detox and treatment services. The last success story, one of the survivors that we have served within Beaufort County has been battling addiction for quite a few years. After being force-fed drugs, exploited, and trafficked by her boyfriend for many years, she recently chose to flee from the life and to begin the recovery process. This client has consistently worked with her case manager and advocate at Daughters of Worth and has just completed detox and inpatient services. She is now working to obtain employment and long-term housing. Although this is only the beginning of the journey, we are so excited for her future. Fleeing from a trafficker, entering detox and inpatient recovery services is certainly not insignificant. This survivor is determined that she wants complete freedom for her life and future. We are excited and grateful for the opportunity to assist her as she pursues this new life. And again, we always provide these success stories to you because the state requires them, and it's now time for us to start reporting our metrics to the state. So we try to make sure that we spread the information across the board and that it's consistent. Again, with the reporting requirement that we have right now, we were having to hold stakeholder engagement sessions. They require an annual meeting, and we did them a little different this year just because last year when we did it, we held both of the stakeholder engagement sessions here in Washington. We heard from the community. Several members felt that they were left out, so we spread them around to 4 different municipalities to ensure that everyone who wanted to be included was. Some key takeaways from those engagement sessions. The first is the desire to provide additional supports for people in treatment and recovery, as well as those who are criminal justice involved, in addition to continuing our efforts to prevent overdose deaths and other harms to individuals who use substances. So, considering what we heard from the community, and those takeaways, we looked into what we could do, how things were going with the implementation phase, and if there was any excess funding that we could use. We know a couple of things. One, the county received a little bit more funding than we initially knew the county would receive when we first proposed the strategic plan. Just because of a few different things, such as the late implementation of the peer support specialists and the mishaps we've had with them and challenges. So we wanted to ask on behalf of the citizens that we are able to continue to fund the 2 community pilot projects that we've seen success with, Daughters of Worth and the Boys and Girls Club of Belhaven. But we also wanted to extend the capacity within the community, focusing on some of the needs of the programs that are already pre-existing in the community, and then again expanding the capacity outside of these particular areas. Prior to the annual meeting that we had some of these programs to reach out to us and ask if we continue to at least hold them until their funding comes in for the new year. The first that we have is a new program. It's called May's Rippling Effect Outreach. It's a nonprofit organization that focuses on providing and addressing mental health, homelessness, opioids, and substance misuse and trauma by providing resources, events, and support groups for users and families affected by such. The mission of May's Rippling Effect is to create a positive ripple effect of change, promoting mental health support, addressing homelessness, and providing trauma. Specifically, they will be located in the Aurora area. The second program that we are asking for continued support for is the District 2 Recovery Court. They have put in several requests. The most recent was very specific. They need support with providing transportation for the participants and incentives for the program. And then the third is the Prevention Point Program. It is a syringe service program that is based at the Beaufort County Health Department. Prevention Point applies evidence-based harm reduction strategies to aid clients in reducing drug-related harm. Prevention Point will work to facilitate a decrease in the number of opioid overdose deaths within the county and make naloxone an easily obtainable resource to all people in Beaufort County. And we are not asking for additional funding. What we're doing is we're asking to reallocate some of the funding that we had in the pot for the peer support specialist. Again, we have implemented peer support specialists, but we do see an excess in that particular pot, and we were asking if we could allot $5,000 apiece to sustain these programs so that they do not leave our county and continue to have a lack of resources for people with substance use disorder. We already know that we have a shortage of providers in the area. The ratio of participants to providers is not nearly what we need. So our peer support specialists, our faith organizations, our members in the community who are providing these services are actually filling these voids, and we're just asking that we're able to keep them here and keep them working. And again, no additional funding would be needed. We're just asking for a reallocation.
You know, a very, very good report here. You answered all my questions that I wrote down last night, but I want to hash them over a little bit. Last time you gave your annual report, you were still having a problem with peer support people. You said that you were going to do all you could. Now you're asking them to spend the money somewhere else. Have you actually forgot about the peer support people?
No, sir.
Okay.
As I stated, we currently have 2 that are employed.
But you was allocated for how many?
We asked for 2, but again, we had a little excess just due to the turnover rate.
How long have you had 2?
We've had 2 since April.
Since April, okay.
We had 1 back starting in September 2023.
Okay. And the other part that raised my conscience level is the weakest part of your presentation. You spent the least amount of time. And that makes me wonder what's wrong. When Recovery Court came out, was part of your program, it was glowing. And then the chairman was there to about everyone you had. For the past 3, 4 months or 6 months so long, we hadn't heard anything about Recovery Court. Now, you're asking for some more money for Recovery Court. What's the problem? Or is there a problem?
Recovery Court has some funding issues right now.
Okay.
To my understanding, and this is just again, they've submitted several applications to us. They're having difficulty getting the participants to both their treatment providers for actual therapy and continued support that they need from the clinicians, as well as getting them to court, actually.
Okay.
They had a contract with an organization that was providing kind of low-cost services, but again, as their funding started to trickle away, they weren't able to maintain that contract, and that's why they're asking us.
And the last part on the Recovery Court is this Second Judicial District, are they supporting funding for that court also?
Yes.
Have you asked them, the Second Judicial District, have you asked those other counties to ante up?
I will be honest with you. In a direct conversation that I had with the court officials, they stated that the other counties are using some of their opioid settlement funds to provide support. But again, kind of like with where we went in with Daughters and Work and said, hey, we understand you work with multiple counties. We need for the funds that we're providing you to be utilized in Beaufort County. Okay. Those counties are kind of doing the same thing. Okay.
And my last question is, how are you tracking your peer people? I think, was it the 28th? When did you have your dinners at the park? Was it in June? 28th of June. On the 28th of June, he had some lunches that he had left over, and I was he gave them to me to give to people in the community. And I talked to some people in the area that was very, very known for bad behavior. And I asked them, had anybody ever sat down and talked to you about help, need? not one of them. And I told you, remember me telling you? Not one of them. And not one of them said no one had ever sat down and talked to them. I'm grateful that you reached out to the South Side, and I'm grateful that you reached out to Bear Haven. But when we first sat down and talked about this program, I was very, very upfront about it. I support you 150%. But I also said that we wasn't about building jobs. We were about cleaning up people that needed help. And I also said that I do not appreciate people that benefit from the backs of others. You heard that before, hadn't you, Sheriff? That is my motto. These people are here hurting, and we are feeding folks all over everywhere. So I hope you, and I'm not telling you how to run your program, like I said, you've done a very, very good report, but I still believe what I told you before we ever started it. I hope you can get those peer support people in the communities. Those people need them. If you look, our overdose rate is not dropped down in this county, not at all. So that tells me that we're throwing good money out the bad. So please, please, if you can, get some support people to meet these people where they are. Thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree, and thank you for your comments, Commissioner. I will say that as a collaboration, as much as I can be involved with the peer support specialists, we are very reactive. Kind of the strategy that we took when I took this job, which is how community in action came about. If there's an area that has been identified to us and someone calls and lets us know about it, we will send a peer out.
And I understand that people not going to be open to anybody else. I was just in that area that day, when you catch chicken, the folks, when you catch chicken, the folks sometimes they talk to you a little differently.
Agreed.
Any other comments? Jerry?
My one concern is when you were talking about female peer support, is there a specific reason why you can't find them? Because there are a lot of females who have gone through different treatment programs and are now leading productive lives. Is it a fear within that they're afraid to go back to where they came from? Or if you can answer.
We honestly have been looking into that. We have hired three female peers. One was terminated. One quit at a moment's notice. The other one accepted the position, later told us that she had previously received another offer, and she went to the highest paying position. So again, our males seem to be a little bit better sustainable, and they were incorporated later on. But the females we have reached out to, we've interviewed, we've hired, and from the pick of them, we tried to do our best with assessing the ones that seem to be most knowledgeable in the area and most stable. Again, we're dealing with peer support specialists, and it's just the female peers are a little bit different.
And my reason for my question is you have a large number of females, and females relate to females better than they can to females to males because they can be open and honest about a variety of things. So I was just wondering. Thank you.
I have spent the better part of my week trying to connect a female peer, and I've honestly looked into other organizations. There was a lady who desperately had a situation where I felt like she would be a good fit to work with a female peer. None of the organizations around here have female peers. That is what I found out this week.
Other questions or comments? Okay, what's the wishes of the board? The request on the table is the reallocation of $15,000 from the peer support to project support, which involves three organizations, Mays Rippling Effect, the Recovery Court, and Prevention Point.
Mr. Chair, I don't have a problem with reallocating this money. I really don't. But the Recovery Court is a circuit judicial thing. I think everybody should add up. Am I correct? It's a circuit judicial thing. I don't think, and we are the largest county in the circuit. I understand that. But that wasn't the deal. It was that we sponsor it. Martin, Terrell, Washington, Hyde, and there's one more.
Now,
Go ahead.
and I'll just say one thing, because the last meeting I went to, the problem they told me they had was because of the state's budget, they haven't received their funding, and so what they're looking for are funds to get them from now until they receive the money from the state. So I think that's where the gap is with Recovery Court.
And it's my understanding it's about sustainability to get them to a point. It's not to maintain this program across the board.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any additional comments?
Let me just make this comment. Apparently, this 15,000 you're not going to spend unless you reallocate it to something else. And as near as I can tell, we got no better ideas. And except from what the experts that we've charged with doing this are bringing forward. So that's why I would support it.
I understand what you're saying too, Commissioner Rev Hope, but the expert also told us that she want to hire some more peer people. And this money is coming from that pot of money, am I correct? Did you say you want to hire some more peer people?
Yes, and we're still looking for females.
Okay, now, if we allocate that money, if we allocate the 15,000, you still have enough to, okay.
Yes, sir.
So she's an expert, but we had to watch the money, you know.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, the next item for presentation is the Correctional Health Services Year-End Review, and that's, Brian, you're going to kick that off?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll tee it up. As you all are aware, Agape Health Services provides correctional health services for the detention center in Beaufort County. Dr. McDuffie is here tonight with his staff to provide a year-end review for the last year of their service. Dr. McDuffie?
Good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. As Brian said, most of you know me. I have Ms. Mariana Walensky. She is our jail health coordinator, our director of operations. And I have Ms. Michelle Linton, Dorothy. We call her Michelle, and she has been a provider, the provider, really leading things at the jail. And so I did want them to come and present to you all because we have had some challenges, but more so we've had a lot of successes. And I think it's important that you all know what's happening. And we found a great partnership working with the Sheriff's Department. And so I would just let Mariana lead off, and then I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Mudaffi. Honorable Board, we're here today to present you with a report about the work that we have done in the last year, starting July 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. So just wanted to walk you a little bit through the process. We're going to talk about the progress review, everything that we have done. We will talk about successes and challenges, and we will also discuss a little bit about actions and the plan for 2024-2025 year. So just to reiterate shortly, the services that we provide at the correctional facility at Beaufort County Detention Center are primary medical care, pharmacy, we're providing medications. We have integrated care and medication-assisted treatment and dental services. So speaking about successes, I wanted to highlight 6 points. And number one is healthcare needs have been met. So all the patients at the correctional facility who needed medical care have been provided medical exam in a timely manner. And everybody was connected to services and provided great care. High quality healthcare services, every single person served at the correctional facility had access to high-quality healthcare services, had access to referrals, medications for chronic conditions management, as well as medication-assisted treatment for substance use disorder. Continuity of care, this relies on how well we were able to connect patients with, upon release, with our healthcare services available in the area. Don't necessarily Agape, anybody who is providing primary care, we were able to provide resources and services so these patients can transition when they are released. Access to additional services and resources, Agape have integrated case managers in the correctional facility who are able to meet with inmates, establish some contact, provide them with resources and services, flyers, with available resources in the county and outside. Access to patient records for ED visits. This was a great accomplishment, but we felt like just because we share the same electronic health record system with the hospital, we were able to provide the connectivity to our medical records, the connection to our medical records from the patients who were being seen at the jail and the hospital in case they were sent to ED. And we were able to reduce some costs and taking officers off the street to kind of like run back and forth providing medications and medical records from the detention center to the ED visits. So by implementing our system, we were able to eliminate that gap. Infectious disease screening. Agape was partnering with Beaufort County and is currently partnering with Beaufort County Health Department to provide STD screenings and patient education. I would like to give Michelle an opportunity to share some of the success stories of patients that she has been able to serve.
Mariana initially outlined that there was a patient diagnosed with different chronic diseases for the first time. That is also through our partnership with the local health department and some of their programs where they were able to diagnose the patient with HIV, Hep C, but also in our own services we're able to diagnose patients with diabetes, with hypertension, and then connect them to care both while I'm taking care of them and then once they're released. Then she noted a patient access to treatment for the first time for HIV. When those patients are diagnosed through the programs at the local health department, sometimes that is the first time they know that they have a chronic disease. We're able to connect them to care, to medications by working through the Department of Health and Human Services, and then connecting them to infectious disease upon release, or sometimes if they're transferred to other facilities. Patients have access to continuity in care and follow-up upon release with Agape. We work really hard to ensure that they have appointments before they leave if we know when they're leaving, and to plan ahead so that they know there's a connection, that we're not just caring for them while they're under our care within the facility, that we want them to be well and be healthy upon their release. And there are also additional patient stories. Some of my favorite stories and success stories really are the patients who are in our MAT services, because they often feel like they are looked down upon or not cared for because of their different issues. But when I meet them and I connect them to services and medications, I find that they get better and I can build a rapport with them. I treat them like they are people, because they're people first every single time. And I find that not only for MAT, for their opioid use disorder, but also their other chronic diseases, as mentioned before, that they now know that I am there and that Agape is there to take care of them. And many of them do follow up when they get out. So seeing them healthy and well is some of my favorite success stories. Also, because we are a multidisciplinary facility, as Mariana mentioned, we are able to utilize our case managers who have helped some of our inmates and patients who have mental health disorders to be able to connect to community resources, which included housing, food, and mental health services upon release. That might sound like a small feat, but it is not, because for these patients, being connected to these resources is very hard. It's a difficult road to navigate, and they get lost in that system, which then leads them to be reincarcerated over the course of time. So just off the top of my head, I can think of about 10 patients who follow up with us for MAT services and who are doing very well. and 2 patients who live with the diagnosis of schizophrenia who are now able to live in our community both safely and sustainably. And to me, those are fantastic successes.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So we wanted to show you a few numbers. So a total between the July 1st, 2023 and June 1st, 2024, this is when I run these reports, we have seen a total of 135 unique patients at the correctional facility. We had a total of 2,285 encounters, which means the patients' visits have been patients have been seen, or medications have been orders of medications and so on. Current number of total patients enrolled, actually at June 1st, we had 71 patients enrolled in the jail health. We had 36 patients who were receiving daily medications on substance use disorder or any other chronic conditions, diabetes, hypertension, and so on. We had a total of 82 patients over the course of this last year enrolled in medication-assisted treatment. We had, on average, we had like 12 patients per month, or like, and at that point we had 7 patients enrolled in a MAT program, and I think today we have 4. So we are very proud of our accomplishments. Of course, we had some challenges, and staffing shortage was one of them. It was very difficult and still difficult to hire personnel for the correctional facility. Not everybody wants to work for correctional facility. However, we have a wonderful team out there, 2 registered nurses and a medication technician, as well as Michelle, as a provider who provide excellent care to our patients. Of course, we had increasing healthcare costs, and the cost providing for healthcare for inmates kind of is continuously raising, but we were able to allocate some internal funds and 340B pharmacy programs, and were able to balance that. And the difficulty implementing new equipment and technologies. So in the last year, the major challenges that we have encountered was internet connection at the jail. We had very not very good service out there, and it's continuously disconnecting, it's continuously delaying, which somehow causes delay in our patient care because we cannot document sometimes live at the same time, or it kind of like delays in patient visits and so on until we connect everything and so on. So I know that we're currently working on that as well. So just to talk a little bit about results, we have improved health outcomes for inmates, and it was mentioned we were able to provide high quality care to connect patients with additional resources and make sure that the patients upon release, they are successful in continuing their treatment and are productive members of the society. Increased access to medication-assisted treatment. We're very proud for the fact that we were able to provide medication-assisted treatment for everybody in need. And we also noticed a significant decrease in emergency department visits since we started, and upon for the course of a year, we've seen less and less people needed emergency visits, which also is directly correlated with the expenses that the county, or the cost that the county has to cover for the hospital. And planned activities. We are currently working on updating processes and procedures. It was new for us, and we were, I think, #1 FQHC in the state of North Carolina. We started to provide correctional health services, and it was very new. However, we were able to identify some lessons learned and improve, and of course move forward. And we have contracted our EHR provider, Epic, to custom build a system for correctional health navigator that will allow us to better track the data, to better document every single patient and every single encounter and run better reports than we are able right now. So we are looking forward into implementing that. Implementing preventive infectious disease and preventive measures. We are working with great partnership with Beaufort County Detention Center to organize and coordinate, especially during the flu season, flu clinics where we can provide immunizations for patients at the jail. And expand and improve mental health services. So Agape is planning to partner with Sheriff Office, Beaufort County Detention Center team to expand mental health and MAT services. And again, in conclusion, I would like to say that we had a great year. I can't say that it was an easy year. It wasn't. It was a difficult year, however, with great successes and accomplishments. I wanted to mention a great partnership that we were able to develop with the Sheriff Office and Beaufort County Detention Center team. Amazing Captain Satchel was able to always, developed a great communication and transparency between our teams, which definitely facilitated us providing care at the detention center. And we've planned activities. Agape Health Services is planning several activities for 2024-2025, and one of them is to improve some of the services to increase access without requesting any additional budgets from the county. And that was all. Thank you.
I have a question.
All right, go ahead.
People who are admitted who are hooked on drugs, what kind of treatment, how do you handle that?
They go through a screening process to see, well, we need to know what they might be hooked on. So first there's a urine drug screen. Assess their symptoms periodically to see where they are in the withdrawal process. And then through various reasonings, or for lack of a better word at the moment, determine if they're a candidate for the medication or they're not. There may be several reasons they're not. For example, if they're going to be transferred to another facility that does not provide the medication, I would not want to start it with us and then they have to go through that. And then when the time comes and it's appropriate, I will start the medication for them, and then we continue that once a day. For us, that's Suboxone.
Does the withdrawal symptoms usually bring them around to cooperation?
Withdrawal symptoms for opioids in particular are very unpleasant. Most people honestly are not going to die if they are going through opioid withdrawals, but it is extremely unpleasant, and therefore they will seek services. They will ask for help in that. Again, if they are not a candidate for Suboxone, does not mean we do not manage their withdrawal symptoms. I do give them medications for their symptoms so that they're not miserable.
When they're let out of jail, you have a program where they continue to receive care.
Yes, sir. While they're with us, they receive a lot of education to understand what can happen, both if they continue the medication or if they do not, because there can be increased risk for several complications if they also choose not to continue the medication. And we try to ensure they have an appointment with us upon leaving. Some people who do come to us may also already be affiliated with some other organizations, including the health department, because the health department was in there before we were in there. If they choose to continue with them, that's fine as well. We try to make sure they have those appointments scheduled too, so that there is not a lack or space in their care.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Jerry.
I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing, because basically a lot of times when people walk out of the jail, it's out of sight, out of mind, and you're trying to ensure that that's not the case. And so I just simply want to say thank you for the work that Agape is doing.
So let me just say one thing in terms of not asking for, I think it's important that you know this, that we didn't ask for an increase in the budget. So when we first went into some communication and we did a budget, we came up with a good number, and that was based on the services, the staff. Quite naturally, we ended up paying the staff. The difficult, as she said, well, we had to pay the staff a lot more than what we were than what we budgeted. But what I've learned to do is I learned to leverage my funding. And so we did find out that we are a CCBHC, a Certified Community Behavioral Health Center, a clinic, and we received SAPs of funds for that. And what we found out later on, that we can't use SAPs of funds for individuals that's in jail. And so we were hoping to use some of those hoping to use some of the staff. So I did have a doctor in there as well, along with Michelle. He was an addiction specialist, also a MD for preventive medicine, and he just didn't work out really good in the jail. And we were asked to remove him, not just quite remove him, but he didn't work out in the jail well. And so I did take him out of the jail. But one of the things that we found out is that we are a federally qualified health center, and so we receive our malpractice coverage through the Federal Tort Claim Act. And so it normally covers all of our providers as well as our staff for malpractice coverage. So we don't normally have to pay additional malpractice insurance. Well, we found out that the federal government wouldn't allow us to use our malpractice in the jail. So immediately that cost me an additional $26,000 for malpractice coverage. Well, this year, that malpractice coverage increased, it doubled from $26,000 to $43,000. I did not come back to you all to ask for an increase. Okay, I have some other fundings that I was able to reallocate to help subsidize that, those numbers. So, this is something that we want to be, as a community partner. And so, yes, to the sheriff office, they are inmates. To us, they are patients. And we want to provide them with the best care regardless of their ability to pay. And we know they can't pay. And so, but we will provide that continuity care once they are released from jail. So yes, we had some challenges, but I feel we had more successes than there have been challenges. And we will continue to have those, but we will work through them. But I think the most important part is the communication and the partnership that we have developed with Sheriff Hammond and his staff. That I think is so great, that allows them to continue to do all the great work they do. So thank you all for letting us present tonight. We hope that we have pleased you all with the services that we provide. And so I'm open for any other additional comments.
I am very pleased with the service you provided, even though I didn't need none of it.
Well,
Get that.
I'd like to say to the taxpayers of Beaufort County, thank you for not coming back for more money. And I thank you as a commissioner.
So welcome.
Any other comments? Once again, thank you for what you guys do. And, I've not heard one complaint during the last 12 months. So that's a very positive thing. So again, thanks for what you do.
Yes. Thank you all.
Okay, we're down to our break time, so we're gonna take a break, and we'll be back in 10 minutes. Okay, we're back from our break, and the next item is the consent. So I'll entertain, well, first of all, is there any items under the consent budget that needs to be removed for further discussion?
Skip the other two.
There's nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay. All right, we're down to the public hearing on the petition to name a private road. Joshua?
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right, so for the planning agenda items, we've got 2 separate petitions to name a private road off of an already existing easement. The first petition comes to us from the petitioner William Thomas Parker Jr., and this petition is to name a private road that is an existing private easement, and the petition is being submitted due to a pending application for an address off of a parcel that is currently being served by this unnamed easement or unnamed road. Per the county's addressing ordinance, it requires that there be a name, and the notice of public hearing was sufficiently advertised, posted in the Washington Daily News for 2 consecutive weeks on July 24th and July 31st. And then 2 notices for the public hearing were also posted in the Beaufort County Courthouse more than 10 days prior to the day of this hearing. The 3 names that were suggested were Vision Lane, Vision Way, and Vision Road. And after consultation with land records and making sure that none of the names duplicated any existing road names within Beaufort County, nor did any sound-alikes exist, the first name, Vision Lane, was the recommendation that staff would recommend being chosen for the actual naming of the easement, assuming there's no comments or public hearing issues or questions.
Okay, I need a motion to go into the public hearing.
So moved.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, is there anyone in the audience that is here to talk on behalf of the naming of Vision Lane? You guys want me to sing for 30 seconds? Okay. All right, need a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, now we need a motion to name the road Vision Lane.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All right. On the next one, let me see if I can do it a little bit different. Let's have a motion to go into the public hearing before.
So moved.
You, okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, Josh.
So the second petition is submitted by a Mary L. Godley, and this is a petition to name an existing private easement. There's no application for a address yet, but this has been filed in pretense to that, assuming that there will be address applications in the future, and they're trying to just go ahead and get it named ahead of time. For this one, again, the advertisement has been posted in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes on the Washington Daily News for 2 consecutive weeks, July 24th and the 31st, and again, also posted within the courthouse 2 separate times more than 10 days prior. And the suggestions for this one were Legacy Lane, Legacy Road, and Legacy Street. And I will add before recommending that the petitioners that signed off on this one, there is a property that this easement actually crosses before getting to the actual applicant's property. I was informed that they would actually have to have a power of attorney sign off for them, but considering that the 51% would rule over, even if they had to submit a road name that was different than the actual applicant's, this one would still stand. So that's why we were still going forward with the recommendation after consulting with land records that it didn't have any duplications or sound-alikes of the first suggestion, which would be Legacy Lane. And if I need to clarify any of that, if there's any questions, just let me know.
Yes.
There's not any houses on this property, any lots on this property right now? Are they bringing in a subdivision?
They plan to do a building for where that end of the easement reaches. There's a lot right after that's vacant. They don't have anything on it currently.
But our ordinance says that if you have 3 units, dwellings, or more, that you're required to do this.
Correct.
This is just for one. We're back, I think, to where we were when we started this process of every pig path in the county having a name on it.
Yeah, they did not have to submit a application for this.
They don't need an address. If public service is best served using the address that's out there on the main road for one building. I mean, that's why we have the ordinances, is to help the sheriff in finding, so we don't have all of these multiplicities of things that are so confusing. My recommendation is that we do a no action on this.
Wait, did I understand there's no buildings at all?
Correct. They planned to have buildings down there, but they wanted to do this in advance. I informed them that they did not have to do it at this time, but they chose to go through the application anyway.
But if you're only going to have one set of buildings there and not a subdivision, we shouldn't give them a unique pig path address. Because that's why we got into the ordinance to begin with, was to stop that kind of confusion.
On a building permit or for insurance purposes, I'm assuming that they have to have a physical address.
Correct. And they
how are you going to get fire and EMS there if you don't have an address?
Well, they have an address. They'll have a post office box out on the road for the single driveway and single building that's going to be built on this property. If they divide it and they have 3 or 4 lots in there.
You're saying as long as there's only one.
Yeah, I'm saying we're back to where we were before we started this. When you go on some roads in this county, there's one over Chalkawinity, I can't think of the name of it, and every house has a different name for their driveway. And that's what this guy's asking for, is the name of driveway. We shouldn't grant that.
Okay. You want to make that a motion?
I move that we do a no action on this or deny the request, whichever works better with our system.
Do we have a second?
Okay. I'll do a second, but I need the prior one we just approved is for one address.
My understanding on the prior one, I looked at that. There are several opportunities and buildings down that thing that could be used, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. You're essentially correct, but there's more pieces of property that front on that.
Has that building permit been applied for?
For the first one?
First one?
Yes.
Okay. So we do have something moving forward there.
Yeah, that one was where they had to do a road naming, but this one is where they didn't have to. Not yet.
You shouldn't do it.
Okay, we got a motion and second. No other discussion. We'll take a vote. All those in favor of no action, raise your right hand. Those opposed. Okay. Okay, I need a motion to, I'm sorry, I need to ask.
You need to ask. Yeah, you're right.
Is there anyone that's in the audience that wanted to speak as related to legacy? Okay.
Motion to close public hearing.
All right, got a motion to close. Need a second. We got several seconds. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
I just had one question. Who paid for the advertisement?
The advertisement on this one, since it's not a renaming, the fee schedule would be the county paying it.
Thank you.
But I think as a matter of policy, when we reworked the addressing ordinance, we reworked the addressing ordinance to get away from this. And I apologize, Josh. I meant to call you about this, and I forgot to do it. But people coming in with a unique one building, one farmhouse, coming off of a public road, this can be very confusing for emergency services.
What we did do a couple months ago was say, and it resulted in a change in the fee schedule in the budget, is that the applicant has to pay for that.
Right.
That was on a rename.
Yes.
This isn't a rename.
Yeah, that's right. That was on a rename.
Okay. Need a motion to come out of the public hearing. Go ahead. Okay. All right. All those, we never took the vote, did we? All those in favor of coming out of the public hearing, raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you, Josh.
All right, thank you.
But don't we have to take the vote out of the public hearing in order to do a no action? I don't think so. I mean, we voted within a public hearing, I think we're supposed to do that. You did it in closed, you should be in a closed session.
Well, yeah. Do you think we need to take another motion? Staff?
I don't think so. I think we're supposed to.
We'll make the motion, let's do it.
Go ahead, Stan, make the motion.
Do it than it is to not do it.
All right, I make the motion that there's no action.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of the motion for no action, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you very much. Appreciate your patience with us. Okay, we're down to Public Works, update on the solid waste mega sites.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Unfortunately, I'm not giving you the update this evening that I had hoped to give you this evening. That looks like that'll be pushed out until next month's meeting. But again, to refresh your memory a little bit and to refresh everyone's memory, Garrett Moore and county staff we've reviewed, researched, and investigated numerous parcels on both the north side of the river as well as the south side of the river. Through some of the discussions that we've had previously, the requirements were at least 30 acres on the north side and 45 acres on the south side. We need it to be centrally located within the north side portion and the south side portion, so it will be a benefit or equally spaced for the residents. So centrally located, but not necessarily in a densely populated area because it is a solid waste collection site. Close to a major highway for convenience, but not necessarily on the highway because of people pulling in and out of the highway with trailers and that type of thing. Minimal site work required, few wetlands in order to keep the cost as low as possible, county water available in order so that we would be able, so we wouldn't have to dig a well and we would be able to wash down the site and to keep the site clean and appealing to people. And then also acceptable sight lines for the entrances, again, not in sharp curves, close to intersections and that type of thing. Staff visited many parcels located throughout the county to look at the appropriateness of each site. Almost all of the sites that we looked at, because they are in Beaufort County in undeveloped areas, there were at least a small quantity of wetlands on almost all of them. So due to that, we contracted with ECS Southeast LLC, and they conducted a wetland survey of the two parcels, one on each side of the river that staff felt is the best location and overall the best options for us. So they went in and completed a wetland survey in order to give us maps that show the actual extent of the wetlands as well as the number of drainage ditches and a little bit of topo for us. Garrett Moore then used the provided information from ECS to confirm that our previously discussed layouts would work on each site because, again, each parcel has a different layout and a different shape. While there are a few items that may need to be tweaked and moved around a little bit, Garrett Moore is confident that the requested services can be provided on these parcels. However, so now we're at the point that we've located the parcels. We think that they will service all of our needs, so we need to, moving forward with the offer to purchase to the landowner. We understand the process that needs to be done in order to do that, but in order to make an informed offer to purchase, we currently are awaiting a formal appraisal from a local appraisal firm who specializes in this to give us direction as far as the offer that we will be making. That, based on the information from the appraisal form, we will have that in a couple of weeks. So the September meeting, there will be a closed session that we will go in to discuss the details of the parcel so that we can receive direction for negotiating purchase of land.
Thank you. You want to go to the next item, Highway 33 waterline relocation?
Yes, sir. Again, to update and to refresh everyone's memory, back in February of 2023, the Board of Commissioners and NCDOT agreed to relocate an existing Beaufort County-owned 16-inch water line due to NCDOT's project that is constructing a new bridge on NC Highway 33 crossing Chocowinity Creek. Per that agreement, NCDOT will reimburse the county the cost of relocating the existing water line. So McDavid Associates prepared the plans, specifications, and advertised the project for bid. An initial bid opening was held on May 7th, which unsurprisingly we only received one bid. So then we re-advertised and had a second bid opening on May 23rd, and 2 bids were received. T.A. Loving Company from Goldsboro submitted the low bid in the amount of $1,182,500. However, this low bid amount exceeded the original budgeted amount. Therefore, McDavid and Associates, as well as staff, as well as NCDOT, worked together to revise the scope and renegotiate a lower bid price. This resulted in a revised contract amount of $1,139,439.20. McDavid Associates sent information to NCDOT. NCDOT went through their approval process and their funding sources, and NCDOT has provided additional supplemental funding which revises the total amount to $1,199,155.54 for the total project. Again, you'll see information included in your agenda book. The abstract is on 178, and then after that includes the recommendation award letter from McDavid. It also includes the original capital fund ordinance from 2024, and then the revised amendment today, which would allocate the additional funding from NCDOT, and then also a resolution awarding the construction contract to T.A. Loving, and then the bid tabulation that gives you the additional information for the second bid, and then also the NCDOT supplemental funding notice. Does anyone have any questions?
Questions of Christina?
I would ask that you would approve awarding the construction contract to T.A. Loving Company in the amount I previously stated to relocate the existing 16-inch water line, including the project budget ordinance and award resolution.
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the construction contract and also the budget amendment, was there a third one?
Resolution.
And the resolution, all three. Raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to emergency services, mitigation support contract. Chris?
$25.
I'm going to waive that because you gave the invocation at my.
That's right. That's right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. As you know, every once in a while we come before you and call an audible, and that's what I would like to do tonight. Over the last week, we participated in several conversations with our state partners to include a conference call that was discussing mitigation efforts last week, and learned some new information that has raised some questions for us that we would like to have answers to before we give our final recommendation about how we best support mitigation efforts in Beaufort County moving forward. And we do not have those questions answered as of yet. So what I would like to ask, with your permission, is to postpone this until September. Hopefully by then we'll have an opportunity to have our questions answered and give us the insight we need to make an informed decision.
It's fine with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're down to NCACC, the Association of County Commissioners Legislative Goals. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you'll see on page 206, these, the board originally talked about submitting legislative goals to the association for their consideration. A couple of these were by specific commissioners who asked things, and then in general there were a couple of them more. The first one, obviously there has to be a discussion and approval to push this forward to the association. The first item reads to support additional funding to assist local governments in managing recycling and solid waste, including scrap tires, manufactured homes, and electronics. Now, this is already an existing 23-24 additional county advocacy goal under environment. And my discussion with the folks at the association was, if you have something associated with that that you like, that you want, that it makes more sense to resubmit an existing goal. It's already been vetted, it's already been through the process, and it's more likely to be pushed forward again. So, Commissioner Waters asked for number 2, which is specifically to support Senate Bill 428, which proposes 30% of net tax proceeds be credited to the scrap tire disposal account instead of the general fund, and support implementing a new tax on used tires similar to on used tires is similar to new tires. So, what they suggested was number 2 is a specific goal, is supporting a specific bill that would be covered by number 1 in a general sense. So they're looking essentially for broader goals so that all 100 counties could get behind it. If you're talking about scrap tires, manufactured homes, electronics, things like that, you can lump a lot of things into that and they can push that forward. But when you get too specific on a bill, then it kind of drops out because everybody's like, well, I don't really support that one, but I will support this one, but you can lump them all together. So I guess my suggestion to you would be, is looking at number 1 and number 2, my suggestion to you would be to resubmit number 1 and let number 2 fall underneath that.
I have no problems with that.
I have a question on just understanding this. It says, proposes that 30% of the net tax proceeds be credited. I mean, the taxes on tires there's a certain percentage of those taxes that goes to tire disposal, and they're proposing to raise the percentage.
Right. Essentially, when the legislation was first established to do that, it was a higher percent going to support it. And then over the years, the General Assembly's kind of pulled that money away, kind of like they do everything.
Yeah, right.
So the bill was to try to make it to support counties and get more money.
This is a pot of money that the counties could file for grants to help subsidize the cost.
Right. Yeah, I understand what's going on.
So the number 3, Commissioner Rebels had brought up the concern about increasing employer contributions both to the state health plan and the retirement pension services, retirement pension funds. So had an additional conversation with the folks from the association about that. And one of the things that we're really being particular about on that is, especially with the retirement system, and the state health insurance. Those are at the sole discretion of the state treasurer. The retirement system specifically, he has sole discretion over how those funds are managed and how it works. He has an advisory board, but when it comes down to it, he has sole responsibility and sole discretion on how to do that. So the recommendation from the folks at the association was, if you write something that says support the state treasurer in efforts to manage and reduce increasing employee contributions to the state health insurance plan and retirement pension funds, because you don't, what I heard from the association was, I don't think you really want the General Assembly playing in this. Support the state treasurer in doing all he can to lower those costs. But if you get the General Assembly involved in this, you just open up Pandora's box. And they said, that's really probably not what you want to do. So their suggestion was that it's certainly appropriate to submit the goal, but say support the state treasurer, because the state treasurer has the sole responsibility for managing that system. Feel good? Okay. And then the last piece we talked a little bit about, and that was presented by the association at one of the meetings, was the legislation regarding pension spiking, where the legislation, again, was written, well, it was because of specific instances that occurred in specific localities across the state of North Carolina. But when the General Assembly got involved, they wrote a shotgun bill, or they wrote a bill that took a shotgun approach to everybody. And instead of saying, let's go after and look specifically at instances where organizations have tried to bump retirement, where they've taken benefits and converted them to cash or something like that, something that's clear, they're trying to bump somebody's retirement. But instead of doing that, they took this shotgun approach and said, okay, anybody who makes over $100,000 in the system, we want to look at, and if actuarially they don't cover their entire retirement cost, then it's on the county or their last employer to pay the difference. So this goal is to seek modifications to the existing pension spiking legislation to target actions that intentionally seek to increase retirement benefits instead of the broader application of the existing legislation, which applies only to certain salary grades. So, my argument in one of the meetings was, okay, you're saying anybody who makes over $100,000 needs to be looked at. And if that actuarial study doesn't show that it's paying the whole ride, then the county's got to pay for that. Well, what about the folks who make less than that? Do you run an actuarial study on everybody? So, why not, if the legislation was intended, which it should have been, to say you're doing something intentional to try to boost someone's retirement, then you ought to go after that, and you ought to write the legislation in a manner that says you did something wrong. That's not the way this is supposed to work. Instead of just saying, well, let's look at only this subset of people. So that would be our recommendation, is to target that, to say you need to modify that legislation to go after people who are doing something wrong, because they are doing something wrong. So of those, I guess, my suggestion to you would be allow number 2 to roll up under number 1, since it's an existing goal, and then approve 1, 3, and 4 if that's the pleasure of the board.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
I move that we support the manager's recommendations.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of submitting the items to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners legislative goals, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay, Katie, you got the next one, the Board of Health appointment.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Richardson is currently serving on the Board of Representatives for the Board of Health. He served 3 terms, and by statute, it's time for him to rotate off. And they're requesting another commissioner be appointed to that board. Are there any suggestions or nominations for that position?
Oh, yeah, okay.
I nominate Randy Walker.
Okay, Randy has been nominated.
Anyone else?
Well, I'll nominate Stan Deathridge.
Okay, Stan has been nominated. All right.
All those for Commissioner Walker? All those for Stan?
Thank you. Okay, we're down to the next items for discussion. Commissioner Richardson. First one is the Beaufort County Schools.
Well, the school situation is becoming more and more egregious with time. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but the superintendent has not been here in front of this board now in about 6 months. He's been invited. I've asked several times that he make an appearance here, and he refuses to come in front of this board and make an appearance, even though he is single-handedly calling all the shots on the $52 million boondoggle for the new school building, in which none of the statutory requirements have actually been met. And this board is allowing him to get away with this. So there'll be a big push, I think, to award a contract and to entrap the next, either to entrap the next new board, which will be elected in November, or to entrap the present board into awarding this contract. So this is just notice that what is going on is totally wrong, and that this board is not doing what it needs to be doing to see to it that the children of Beaufort County receive a much better education than they're getting now. Because what the superintendent is proposing is a consolidated grammar school with 1,000 students in one building. We're not looking at neighborhood schools. We're not looking at how to get parents involved. We're looking at how to run one of these, what is essentially a giant chicken business, is the way it works, of cramming bodies into a building without considering the quality of education. Neighborhood schools need to be examined, and they need to be looked at. Because if we don't take this opportunity, it may be a long time before we get another opportunity to do this. This board is derelict in its duty for not calling this guy out, because the money to build this $52 million passes through the commissioners, and it has to be approved by the commissioners before it is actually spent. So I know there are people on the board who run around and say we don't have anything to do with it. That's not true. We have a lot to do with it. Motion to hire an independent party consultant to examine alternatives comparing kindergarten through the third grade school consolidation versus neighborhood schools. That is a motion.
Okay, is there a second? All right.
And I would like to support that second with, I agree with Commissioner Richardson, it's not the quality of the school building, even at $383 per square foot in this time where too much money is chasing too few goods and services. It's not the condition of the school, the quality of the school, that ensures that we have better education. It is a combination of the parents, the children, and the teachers, and the administration thereof of these entities. And smaller schools, look at the charter schools. They're small. They're doing a great job. You get a lot of parental inspiration. They're taking advantage of it. Teachers are working together. Students are doing better. They're grading better. We need to have that same construct more in our public schools. School choice is happening in North Carolina. We're going to see more and more as it evolves. It's going to become a real factor in our education process. What's happening in our public schools, and we heard the governor speak about that at the last event the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners put on, is that public schools are in jeopardy now. They're not in jeopardy. They've never been in jeopardy. All they have to do is compete on a level playing field, do well, and they will continue to exist. Regardless, we're going to educate our children here in North Carolina. How we do it is the question.
Have we had this motion before?
No. I deliberately worded it so you haven't had it before.
So this is a little bit different tweak. All right. Any other commissioners want to comment?
No.
All right. All the...
It occurs to me, though, that the reason we got this $42 million from the state was because of an application process that resulted in an award for a single school facility. It didn't have an award to go study and go build multiple. And in fact, the priority, the points got even more for replacing two with one. You got more points for doing that.
Well, that just...
So that's what I'm trying to understand. That's how we got the money. How the money got
based on the paperwork that's available, we got the money because of politics, because of the sitting superintendent needed to deliver a big check just before the primary election, which she lost in order to win the election. So she went around the state and delivered these checks a week or two before. It was totally political. But the deficiency in this is that there is supposed to be a study that was done that justifies building the consolidated school. Inquiries have been made, and no one can produce any of the studies that are required by law that be done to build this school. This is a one-man, behind-the-scenes action that needs oversight, and it has zero oversight. The commissioners are the people that are supposed to provide this oversight because we fund the school board. That means we have a say.
So the application was approved by the school board in a unanimous vote. So
State law, though, takes precedence over the school board. The state regulations say that this study is supposed to have been done, and it has not been done.
That was never raised during the process. It was never raised in the discussion with the state lottery people when it was presented. Randy?
At the time of its completion, this building will be the safest school building in North Carolina. I cannot wait to take the tour when it's completed.
It's going to be safe because it's going to be half empty.
Okay, let's take a vote on this. All those in favor of the motion to hire a consultant, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
All right, we'll go on to the next one. Request the school board present to the Board of Commissioners the most recent plans for the $52 million school. Now, I have requested of this, request has been made to the superintendent for the last 3 months, and he has chose to ignore it, which he does very well at. And the reason that he ignores it is because he has the total support of his school board and 5 of these Beaufort County commissioners, 2 of whom have wives that serve on the school board, and they have never voted against their wife. So this is a corrupt little process that is really costing Beaufort County, and I have a problem understanding why parents in this county are not more in an uproar than what they are about this, or even the public in general, because we have a deplorable quality of school system. We have a lot of low-graded schools, and nothing is actually being done about it. And the reason nothing has been done about it is because there's no fire in the belly of the Board of County Commissioners or the school board to improve education. They just want to sit there like a knot on a log. So I've been requesting that this be brought to the commissioners, and it has not been brought to the commissioners. What's going to happen? Superintendent's going to walk in here one day, and he's going to demand that this board approve his plans that he has single-handedly put together with no input from the public or anybody else other than the big cheese. So you just need to be aware. And this board is going to approve it. You're going to have 5 votes that are going to approve this. So the public needs to be aware that they're being sold out on a very expensive process, and in the long run, it's going to cost you a lot in education. Item 4, a discussion concerning, I'm requesting that the school board present the plans for the school at the next meeting of the Beaufort County Board of Commissioners. And I am not talking, no, I'm requesting. I'm not talking about coming in here with the construction documents for us to approve so they can award a contract. I'm talking about some progress drawings that we can look at, see what we think, and see what's going on. And the superintendent is going to refuse to do that, mainly because he has perfect control of at least six members of his school board, just like there's 5 members here, and they're going to support this. And it is a corruption of the process. So that's a request. I asked the clerk to make the request on behalf of Commissioner Richardson.
Oh, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Get your mic there. I think now, I might be wrong, but you always talk about the power of these 5 commissioners, and you're very, very intelligent mathematicians. You can count. And I don't think, and if I was Cheeseman, if I was the superintendent, Mr. Cheeseman, and you requesting him to come, I wouldn't come either, because there's no action being taken by this board, which is, the board is the governing body, not one person. I'm not finished. I'm gonna let you have your chance. I'm not nervous, because I'm not. But the thing about it is, if you would understand that if you want to go out there and look at those prints, I'm sure he would let you look at them, but until this board vote for him to come, God knows I wouldn't come. I'm just being honest.
Well, then, do you think I should make a motion that requests that the superintendent produce the documents?
If you can get the majority to go with you, yeah, I would.
Should I make a motion?
Yeah.
You think I should make a motion? Well, I'll make a motion that this board request the superintendent to appear at our next meeting with the plans for the school and for a discussion.
I'll second that. I'd like to see those plans.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor of requesting the superintendent come at our next meeting, to present the plans, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
I think I've made my case. Thank you very much.
Know that we're meeting Thursday with the superintendent. This board is meeting with their board, and I'm sure we can have an opportunity to look at some of this stuff.
I've received no official notice of this board meeting with the superintendent on Thursday. Where is this coming from?
It's on the calendar. I mean, we've been told exactly when it's going to be unless it's changed.
Well, is this a board meeting of this board?
No, it's not a board meeting. It's an information session.
Oh, gee.
Information session.
This is where you cut the commissioners out of the process when you made your illegal deal over in Pitt County. Violated the open meetings law, Frankie.
What?
You did.
No.
Oh, yes, you did.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, you can tell all the lies you want to tell.
Well, it may not be a lie. Maybe I can
tell.
raise some money. We take you back to court and let you prove in court that you didn't violate
You
the
can
law.
take
Let's
me
see
to
how
court.
that works.
Go ahead. You spend your money and take me to court.
No, I'm gonna spend your money.
You've never been to the University of North Carolina School of Government, have you?
Sir?
You've never been to any of the training courses?
No.
Apparently.
I disagree a lot with the Institute of Government.
Yeah, because you're an attorney on the side.
Well,
I'm
I'm
an
smart
attorney
as they
on the
are.
side. I agree. Why don't you go to your next item?
All right, the next item is a discussion concerning who may bring criminal charges for acts committed on school property. And I wish the sheriff was here, I was hoping he would be here for this. And maybe we need to get him back at the next meeting. Maybe we need to get the sheriff back at the next meeting so. Oh, it didn't come on. So we can, take care of this, because the estimated $15,000 in criminal act damage that was done by vandals on the school system, no one is having to pay for that. And that is not being paid for, and somebody in the school system made the decision to take $15,000 of the public money and use it to repair damage that was done by criminal acts. So one of the questions that I want to ask the superintendent, if you can get him here in front of us, is who has the authority to bring criminal charges against people who do criminal acts on the schools? For instance, you've got the sheriff out there now with his deputies, and let's say a deputy observes a criminal act on the school grounds. Does he have to go to the superintendent and say, gee, should we bring charges against Johnny? After all, his father is a brother of a county commissioner. Do you think we should bring charges? Something like this, political kind of stuff. So, or can the sheriff, if he sees a criminal act, can he bring charges without requiring the permission of the school superintendent? These are questions that need to be asked, because these people did criminal damage to the taxpayers of Beaufort County, and they're getting away with it solely because we have a liberal school superintendent who came from California, and like the law in California, if you don't steal over $1,000 worth of merchandise, you don't get prosecuted. We got the same kind of thing going on here. We need to get the superintendent in here, and we need to find out how the county's property is being protected.
I have a question. And this can be directed at Hood or any other commissioner. Hood, you're stating 15,000. I have heard 45,000. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying what I'm hearing is right. But no, there's not been a public discussion of what the exact figure is. Has there been?
Not that I've heard. All I know is the rumor mill.
Well, I think the commissioner, since we spend the public's money on these schools directly, we're the ones that make these decisions. We should know these things. Now, you spoke about the sheriff witnessing a criminal act. What if the sheriff sees, or deputy working as a resource officer, sees the effects of the criminal act? Would they have the right to investigate, or do they have to ask permission to investigate? That's a question I'd like to know.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing is, my understanding is the criminal act was never reported of the vandalism to the local sheriff's department. The city of Washington police department was apparently spoken to, but never reported as a criminal act. This is a responsibility of the superintendent. He should pony that money up out of his salary if he's protecting criminals.
Also, this is our sheriff's department as resource officers. I mean, they're there. They're on the site. They can enforce the law anywhere in Beaufort County, whether it be in the city, outside the city. It has to be in Beaufort County. They see a law broken or think there's a law broken, they have the right to enforce that law.
Well, do they? That's my
That's the question. Yeah, that's a good question.
The contract doesn't address this that the sheriff has with the school.
But they have a fiduciary duty to the people of Beaufort County to enforce the law.
We do too, but you saw how that is playing out.
Gentlemen, when this happened, Allied was responsible. It was not the sheriff's office.
But you report criminal acts to the local law enforcement authority, and that was not reported to the sheriff's office as a criminal act, and I don't think it was reported to the city of Washington. Those are the local police authorities. That's where you report criminal acts.
This thing was cleaned up in less than an hour, and the teachers and folks that were involved with cleaning it up were compensated. And I'm pretty sure that the money that you speak of was all paid for through private donations from parents. So, I don't think no taxpayer was harmed in this event.
It was paid for, well, why isn't the superintendent willing to come before us and address this?
I don't
know. What the public deserves the truth. The public deserves to know what's going on. The public deserves to know who is protecting criminals.
Okay.
Well, let me make a motion to that, since this has come around to this. I make a motion that we request that the superintendent come to the next commissioners meeting and give us a report on how the damages that were done by the vandals was paid for at the end of the school year.
I second, with an inquiring mind.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand.
Vote for it.
Those opposed? Now, one of the things that you can do, Hood, is, and the manager will verify this, anytime that I've got a question for the superintendent, I sent an email to Brian and asked him to push it over to the superintendent. So you still have that right to do that.
Yeah, but that is in the backyard kind of a thing. This is a public issue, and my public keeps talking to me about this issue. My public deserves an answer. I don't need a private answer.
Well, once you get the reply back, then you can report it at our meeting. You can make it public.
Well, if he will answer, do you think he'll answer? He hasn't been answering lately.
Well, I think if you send the email to Brian and he pushes it up there, then you'll have a right to say that he didn't answer it. So,
well, he still
why don't you do that?
He still should be willing, as an employed official, to come and report to the public. This is information that's being withheld. But I appreciate your statement, and I will try some of that, and we'll see how it works.
You can do that tomorrow. You don't have to wait until the next meeting.
We will see how it works.
Okay. You want to go to your next item, a report on the financial risks relating to the Chocowinity lawsuit?
Yeah, well, but I asked the county manager if he would report on the financial risk, because it seems like we're having trouble getting information about this fraud over there, which could be as much as $1 million.
So Commissioner Richard, your question is there a financial risk to Beaufort County relating to anything that may happen in Chocowinity's finances? And my response to that is there is no risk to Beaufort County. Nobody in Chocowinity has access to our bank accounts. Nobody has access to our checks. There are 3 pots of money that go to the town of Chocowinity from the county. One is the Chocowinity tax, and that is a tax that is levied by the town of Chocowinity. We collect that money, we take a percentage of it for the collection fee, and then we send it to the town of Chocowinity, so that's their money. So there's only exposure to them on that. The remaining 2 pots of money that go over there from us are the fire tax and the EMS tax, and those only go over on 1/12 increments. So we don't pay that up front for the entire year. We only send over 1/12. So the only exposure we may have is if they shut down EMS operations or if they shut down fire operations and we continue to pay them, which we wouldn't. So in my opinion, there is zero financial liability for the Beaufort County.
Well, the question was really the way you stated it is regarding Chocowinity. It says give a report outlining the financial risk to Beaufort County could have in the Joy McRoy charges.
Again, we have no financial risk in whatever occurs over there because it's not our money.
What about the money that we gave that she supposedly has misappropriated from various sources?
Again, all the money that we send over there is their money. First, the tax money is their money. They're the board that levies that tax. So if that tax money goes over there, it's their tax money. I mean, they levied it, so they got it. If someone does something with that money inappropriately, it's on the town of Chocowinity, it's not on Beaufort County. The 1/12 that we send over for fire and EMS, if we continue to pay them, and if they shut down EMS or if they shut down fire, I mean, we've gotten that 1/12 service. We're paying for a service. We're paying for EMS service and we're paying for fire service. We only pay that a month in advance. So we've got, once we go through that month and we paid them that money, they fulfilled the obligation. It's their money. It's just like if we go buy something from Lowe's, we've got our service. We paid for it. So whatever they do with their money is on them. So any financial liability is strictly on the town. It's not on us. We receive the service that we paid for.
Well, I disagree to this extent. If we collect tax money from people by force of law, and then we give that money to somebody else to use, and they misuse that money, I think we have a liability because they have misused the taxpayers' money.
I understand what you're saying. However, they've not misused the service that we've asked them to provide. They provided EMS service for that 1 month we paid for it. They provided fire service for that 1 month we paid for it. So we've gotten our money's worth. Just because maybe somebody did something, and I don't know. I mean, I have no idea what's going on over there. But if someone did do something with it, that's their. Once it gets in their hands and we've gotten our service, then it's their general fund money. It's all on them. It's not on us.
Well, the question is, did we get all the service we should have gotten if part of the money was stolen because the money wasn't there to provide as good a service as could have been provided?
No, we've not had a break in EMS services and we've not had a break in fire services. So
but you got a question of quality of services, obviously, because they've essentially gone bankrupt in what they're doing.
We have a contract with them to provide 1 ambulance, and they've consistently done that, and they provide fire service. So
well, I think you've got an awful weak argument, and I totally disagree. We as overseers of the county's money have an obligation to see how the money is spent, and that definitely comes out when we start giving money to charities and things like that, because the law is clear that it's still up to us to see that the money is spent for what it was intended to be spent for. And if it was stolen, it obviously wasn't spent for what it was intended to be spent for. So we have a big disagreement there.
Okay, you want to go to your next item, which is the report on the lawsuit status.
Yeah, this is another one of those things where we're playing with semantics all over the place. And, I have a problem in a county attorney. Billy Mayo was here for so many years, and you could sit up here as a board and you could ask Billy a question, and Billy would always answer it. This attorney refuses to answer and claims that he's not my personal attorney and I can't ask him a question. Only the board can ask him a question. I understand the reasoning for that and the need for that under certain situations, but it is not the way that this board has operated in the past. We're paying this guy $84,000 a year plus another unknown amount of money that the manager refuses to disclose to me.
Wait.
Okay.
Let's be clear about it, Commissioner Richardson. You asked for any payments that had gone to the county attorney. What I provided to you was the vendor payment file to the county attorney. Anything that flows through us to the county attorney would flow through the vendor file. And I gave you all that. So you can claim that the county's paid all this other stuff, but they haven't. You've gotten everything. And if you have something, like I said in the email, if you have something that you know of, then let me know. I'll research it. But we pulled the vendor file from the time period that you asked and gave you a copy of that. There is nothing else.
Well, here again, we're playing with semantics.
No, we're not. You've accused me of not doing something.
Well, let
I'm telling you, I've given you everything. You refuse to believe that. You're calling into question my integrity, which you seem to do very often, and I don't appreciate it.
One of the hazards of dealing in politics is questioning integrity.
Well, I think you're very out of line. I think you're very out of line.
I don't think so. Let me say this. I asked you for 1099s, other payments that were made, contract work that Francisco may have done with the county, and what you have done is given me back some law that applies to people who work for the state treasurer's office and not to you, that says you can't give me that information at all. So you are refusing to give me information.
So, Commissioner Richardson, the law that we're talking about, and I don't have it, but I sent it to the entire board, applies to any government official who holds tax information. Now, 1099 is tax information. The penalty, there are exceptions to that information being provided to certain people. Those were outlined. I sent you that information, and what I said was, I don't see that any of the exemptions apply. I sent it to the county attorney and said, you look at this and tell me, because the penalty for giving that information out to a government employee is that you get fired from your public job and you can't work for the public for the next 5 years. I am not going to break the law, and I'm certainly not going to break the law for you so that I get fired and can't work for the public for the next 5 years. It's not going to happen. I don't care what you say.
Let's go back to public information. The law that you sent to me talks about people who work for the state treasurer. It does not say, nothing that you sent me. Now, you may have something you're going to send me, and that's fine, but it says the state treasurer, it and tax information in Raleigh. It doesn't say anything about anything else. Now, wait a minute. Let me go on. Let me finish. You got another situation here where payments to anybody, any public payments that are made to anybody are public information, and the public has a right to access that. You are denying me that access.
No, sir. I'm not denying you the access. I've given you the information under the vendor check file, but I am not going to break the law and give you a tax document that the statute says any government employee who has access to that cannot give it away unless there is an exception. I'm not going to break the law for you. I'm just not going to.
The law doesn't refer to the document. The law refers to certain specific information. And did I not say to you, send you an email that said, please redact the information that you consider to be sensitive and send me those copies, and you have refused to do that.
You are exactly right, and I will not send that to you until the county attorney tells me that I am not in violation of that statute.
Very well, then. How do I get the information on how much money is paid to the county attorney on an annual basis, including his salary, plus his contacts, plus all the other information that I asked for?
You have received it. I gave you a copy of the vendor file for the county attorney for that time period, so you have received everything that we have.
Well, I'm not sure that I've identified the vendor file. I saw the statement in there that you said that we write a check to the county attorney for $7,000 every month, but I don't see where he's done any other business with the county. Is that what you're saying? We've paid him no other money.
There's been no other transactions through our vendor file, which is how we pay people. So unless you have something that I don't know about, that's all I can give you is through what's in the vendor file.
Well, that's the first time that I've heard you say we've made no payments other than the $7,000 a month.
I think that's what I gave you. I said, here is the vendor file. That's all that I'm aware of because that's what flows through our process. You can go over this and over this and over this, but I'm telling you, we printed the vendor file that says what payments came from the county to the county attorney. That's what you asked for that time period. That's what you got.
Well, let me make sure that I'm getting the communication that I need because I haven't identified the vendor file in my emails. Can you send me the vendor file again?
I got it. You want me to send it to you?
No, I want the manager to send it to me.
Well, he already did because you were on the list.
I would like for him to send it to me again because I did not see anything in there that said no other payments were received by the county attorney. I saw an evasive answer of I'm not going to give you the information.
And I'm telling you that I sent it to you. You've got it. I'm not sending you anything else.
So you're refusing to confirm the information?
Unless unless the majority of this board tells me to send it to you again, I'm not sending it to you again because I sent it to you already.
Very well.
And you can call me whatever you want to call me and do whatever you want. But I've given you the information you've asked for. I'm not going to break the law for you, and that's the end of the story for me.
I don't understand why you guys are so upset about this. That really makes me suspicious. When I see people start getting emotional about these issues, I begin to wonder what they're hiding.
Well, I'll tell you.
Well, it works both ways.
What happens
It works both ways. Good.
Let me make a motion. I move that that this board require the manager to send to me all of the, by email or letter, however he chooses, all of the funds, all of the monies that were paid to the county attorney during the calendar year of 1923, during the calendar year of 1923.
1923.
Sorry, I wasn't here.
19.
I mean, he's already done it. He's already done it, and he's just showing us that he does not look at his emails and open the attachments. I mean, that's it in a nutshell.
Well,
he does not look at it.
I'll second it because I think the commissioner deserves any information he requests. But you can search your email and see if it's still in there in your inbox.
Well, what I'm saying is the way it came in is attachments. I didn't identify it the way the manager says it was identified. So if he sends it to me again, then I'm going to go through it and search it again and get back to him if I can't identify it.
Right.
I'm just trying to confirm.
Will you help him,
Stan?
Will you help him search? And
I saw an evasive statement in there. But I'm not going to give you information. That's what I saw. I'm not going to give you information. And that's what he's saying here right now. So please send it again so we can get this worked out.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor of requiring the manager to send it the second time, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
I'll send it to you, though.
Let me make sure he understands where the information comes for 1099. Ashley, will you like to tell him where that information comes from?
So the information that goes on a 1099?
The total amount that goes out there to David under the 1099, is it coming from some other account other than the vendor file?
No, it's coming directly from the vendor file.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, but
he didn't understand. He does not know that.
What you're saying is there are no 1099s and there are no other revenue forms other than the W-2 form. That's what you're saying. Is that correct?
No, the 1099 is for our vendors. A W-2 our employees get. Our vendors, which the county attorney is, he gets a 1099, and on that piece of paper is very personal information. It's not just how much we paid him in a year's time. It's got his social security number and personal information that he may not want out there as a public document.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. Now, I don't want that information, but what I'm saying is I don't have in my emails the 1099 and the other forms. All I have is the W-2 information.
You do not have a W-2 because you've not been provided a W-2.
No, I said information. I didn't say a W-2 form. I said information.
You said I don't have a W-2 in my email.
No, I said I don't have the W-2 information. I was very careful about what I said.
You're not going to get a W-2 and you're not going to get a 1099. You'll get a copy of the vendor file, which you've already gotten.
I don't want that. I want the total of those numbers, which you are withholding.
That's right, and we're not going to break the law for you.
Well, you are breaking the law by withholding public information for a request.
Yes, sir. And I think
You've already, we understand that.
The board understands that.
We understand that, and I understand the accounting, where the 1099 information comes from. So, end of story. The next one is Commissioner Deathridge.
This is my bully pulpit.
I think you left me out of one.
Wait, what was that?
Page 209.
209. Okay, I apologize to you. You want to go ahead and do your...
You know, the county attorney insists that I'm asking him to be my lawyer. I really don't need him for my lawyer. I'm probably as good a lawyer as he is. But what I am asking for is a listing of the trial dates and the status of the various Chocowinity suits and countersuits involving Joy McRoy who is accused of defrauding government agencies to which we have paid money to.
Where did you get your law degree? This is really interesting to me.
You don't need a law degree to be a lawyer.
So you have no law degree?
No.
That's
You
what you
don't
just
need a law degree
said.
to practice
I just
law.
want to be sure.
Okay,
Well, are we going to get the listing of the suits and the status, or aren't we?
I mean, I don't know what, I'm not going to ask for it.
Why not?
Huh? Why not?
Yeah, you just go online and look it up. They're all online.
I mean, you've got a research department, why don't you get them to do it?
I'm busy.
You've got a research department, I know you.
I'm asking in my capacity as a commissioner, which I have a right to do, whether you agree with it or not.
That's right.
For this information, and we've always had it made available to us by the county attorney in the past, but all of a sudden, we're paying the county attorney twice what we paid the last county attorney, and he's not doing anything.
Well, anyway, is any a commissioner that wants us to take a vote on whether for our attorney to spend time doing this?
It's not a matter of spending time, it's what you said. It's as simple as what you said. It's a matter of looking it up and giving it to us. He is supposed to be the expert.
Well, I don't have a problem with, I don't have, excuse me.
Oh, he's going
None of your
to
business.
write
I don't have a problem
his
with- I don't have a
website,
problem.
his newspaper. Yeah,
I don't have a problem with our attorney sending it to if he want it, bill him for it. I mean, that's what you get paid. I mean, we pay you to do what we ask you to do. So if he want it, send it to him and send him a bill behind it.
Okay, okay, this brings up an interesting point that I just need to get cleared up. Having been here 28 years and being dumb as a doorknob, the only way that we can talk to the county attorney is for the board to vote, right? To get the information.
About board, now.
Is that right?
My training is, I may be wrong, but my training is, he's our attorney when we got a quorum. Now, if I see him down the street and ask him something, he ain't got to answer that to me. I think I'm correct now.
And that's the only way the attorney can do legal work for us, right? Is that right?
Individual work, he do board.
Is that correct?
Anything like this.
Well, let me just mention a couple of things to you that have happened over the years. The dissolution of the hospital trust fund, $7 million in it, I was chairman of that board. And all of a sudden, we come in here to vote to dissolve that fund, but we had hired a hospital lawyer at $300 for an hour, supervised by the county attorney to figure out how to dissolve that fund, but the board never voted to ask the attorney to do anything. So how did he know to do that? Some of you got in the back room with him, didn't you? Didn't come before this board, I know. Okay, now let me tell you about another reason, another thing that's going on. When you decided to go after Stan Etheridge because of his legal contract, you got the county attorney to say it was an illegal contract. This never came before the board for him to look at until the issue was proffered that Stan was going to be punished by you because you didn't like him. So how did he know to do anything? Answer, some of you got with him in the back room and did it. So don't sit here and do this stuff with me that you know what's going on and you're trying to shut me down because I'm digging into some stuff that's going to embarrass you because I asked for forensic audits in Chocowinity 4 or 5 years ago. You guys voted against them. And guess what? They were stealing with both hands.
I vote against it again until somebody tells me that we're involved.
No, you need your buddy Jay McRoy's votes in Chocowinity. You guys are just covering politics. That's all this is politics.
And you're really good at it. You're really good.
You better believe it.
Yes, sir.
November can't get here soon enough.
Yes. Okay, Hood. Excuse me, Hood. Okay, Stan, you're up.
All right. Changing wheels, so to speak, going in a different direction. We are a county of the body politic state of North Carolina. State of North Carolina elects the President of the United States as one of the 50 states. That's a democratic process in electing the President. Now, we've heard a lot of discussion through the Democratic Socialist propagandistic media and the Democratic Socialist Party working together hand in hand about how they're going to save democracy. Well, I want to tell you, my public, the constituents of Beaufort County, we are not a democracy. We hear a lot of politicians talking about how we are a democracy. We're not. In no way are we a democracy. We have never been a democracy. It's a misnomer. It's a misnomer that's proffered through the school systems, I reckon, because people don't know any better now, through the propagandistic media that really where no journalists can be found, are telling everyone we're a democracy. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. We are a representative republic. We use a democratic process to elect our representatives to go to Washington, D.C., to go to Raleigh and represent us here in North Carolina, to come here in Washington and represent us on this Board of Commissioners. But we are not a democracy. We are a republic. So we find out that if we don't get rid of Donald J. Trump, a lot of people consider him the President of the United States still, we are not saving democracy. Well, again, the misnomer. It's all about the democratic process. We've seen the democratic process handled very poorly by the Democratic Socialists. They tried to get Mr. Trump off the ballot in a number of states just through some of their public officials. Found out later that very quickly that was unconstitutional. You can't do it. Can't use the 14th Amendment willy-nilly to take somebody off a ballot. You just can't do it. They've used lawfare to try to destroy the man, his family. I will tell you right now, every case is going to go away, and he won't pay one dime to any of these people in the corrupt state of New York. It's not going to happen, whether he's elected president or not. The Constitution of the United States, of which we are a constitutional republic, equal application of the law, is for all of us. It's not for one group. It's not for another. This two-tiered system of government will end at some point. Or it's a multi-tiered system of government, but it's supposed to be a single-tiered system of government. Now we find out we can't get a report from the Department of the Secret Service, the same group that couldn't investigate cocaine that was found near the Situation Room in the White House because they knew whose cocaine it was. It was destroyed without ever testing the product. We cannot get a report. We cannot get a report, an accurate report, 22 days later after the attempted murder of President Donald J. Trump. Now, we're finding out that there weren't enough resources. Some people didn't do their job. Some people didn't care. Some people didn't know. Whatever. A lot of people are getting really fed up with what's happening in this nation. And what happens at the top always finds a way to find its way down to the bottom where we govern. Corruption starts at the head and it moves its way down. And I despise it. A lot of others despise it. If this corrupt behavior continues in America, if it continues in North Carolina and even in Beaufort County, there's going to be hell to pay. So I just want the public to know that some of us care, some of us want you to go out and vote like you've got some sense, and don't listen to people who don't. Don't go to Facebook. Try to learn from your friends, because generally they don't know anything. Don't learn from the media, because only about 20% of the media has enough sense to even be broadcasting, writing, or whatever. So just be smart, vote properly, know who you're voting for, know what you're voting for, know what the conditions are in this republic, and how dramatically important it is that we not make the mistake ever again of having an idiot president who can't think, run by others. I'm done.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, you sure can.
A tree is known by the fruit it bears.
Okay, we're down to our closed session.
Perfect.
We're down to our closed session, and Katie, you or David want to read us into closed session.
A motion is needed to go into closed session under NCGS 143-318-11-4 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations, or to discuss matters relating to military installation closure or realignment, any actions approving the signing of an economic development contract or commitment, or the action authorizing the payment of economic development expenditures shall be taken in open session.
Okay, I need a motion to go into the closed session. Got a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Okay. I was being sidetracked over here. We got a motion on the floor to come out of closed session. Was there a second? Okay, and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, thank you. No action is required. Okay, we're down to the very last items, commissioners' comments. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand.